Good morning, everyone. If someone could just shoot me a quick little text over in the left-hand box if they can hear me, that would be much appreciated. And as soon as I get confirmation about that, then we will go ahead and get started. Okay, great. We're going to go ahead and get started. So first off, I'd like to thank Education USA for hosting this presentation. And what we're going to go ahead and cover is maximizing the value of an MBA for international students. And we do have some specifics about Iranian students as well in here. And if at any time you have any questions, there's a question and answer box on the left-hand side that I would encourage you to go ahead and write your questions in when they come to your mind. And if I have time, I will definitely go ahead and answer those as I'm going through the presentation. And if not, I'll make sure that they get answered at the end of the presentation. So please don't be shy. Please ask questions. This presentation is to kind of help you with any question queries that you might have when you're pursuing your MBA here in the United States. So basically what we're going to go ahead and cover is the objectives of an MBA. And a lot of students want to know why in the first place they should be looking at an MBA, a Master's in Business Administration. And of course the first obvious answer to that is to kind of gain knowledge and skills. And of course, increase your earning potential. For U.S. students, when they graduate with an undergraduate degree in business, their average starting salary is about $46,000 US. And on the flip side of that, when they graduate with their master's degree, that jumps to almost over $60,000. And a lot of MBA programs can be completed in just a year. So within a year, you're increasing your earning potential over $20,000, which is a great way to kind of jump to that next, salary phase in your life. And one thing that students a lot of times don't think about is building a network of contacts. Coming and getting an MBA in the United States, you're going to be taught by world-class faculty who have a wealth of contacts on their own. You're going to meet with alumni of those universities. You're going to meet with your fellow classmates and build those contacts. So building contacts can definitely come in handy as you continue through your career. Now, obviously, there are MBA programs that are offered around the world, and of course the United States. So why choose? Well, first off, I would definitely say reputation and credibility. There's still that kind of to a U.S. education. It's really viewed as a top education. Or presented by the highest accrediting schools of business here or business AAC. Obviously, there's are two for students who want to go back home and some who may want to work here for a few years. And U.S.-based schools definitely have great relationships with a lot of top-notch companies out there. And of course, the U.S. does attract faculty from all around the world. For example, here at Clarkson, we have faculty from the Middle East, from Asia, from Europe, that have been attracted to Clarkson and teaching our students here. So when you are evaluating an MBA program, the thing that you want to do is start making a list, kind of a pros and cons list. And the first thing that I always tell students is to get their non-negotiables down. So you really want to make sure that you are clear in what you are looking for in a program. So accreditation is probably going to be one that's on your non-negotiable list. Location may be on your non-negotiable list. You may definitely want to be on the West Coast, or you may want to be on the East Coast. It's up to you. So kind of get that list down. Duration can be one of them too. So you may definitely need to be done your program in a year, and in that case, you want to look for schools that offer that. And the reason that I want you to have that list of non-negotiables down is it's easy to get swayed, and it's easy to get overwhelmed by the amount. That list kind of refer back to it's offering you, you know what, let's move on to the next school. So having a clear mind what and those non-negotiables is really important. Wants are kind of those things that would be nice to have, but may not be the end-all and be-all to your program. So For some people that's location, and their non-negotiable is scholarship. So they absolutely need to have a substantial scholarship to go to a school, and they might not mind that the program is, in Kansas, for example, in the middle of the United States, not on a coast. So just have those down when you really have an idea of what you want to do. There is, definitely a return on your investment, and there's a cost to it, of course. So you have to take a look at the cost of different programs and see if it's going to give you a return. Obviously, the availability of scholarships and assistantships can reduce your costs. So a lot of students, when they're looking at costs to go to school, they obviously take into account a tuition, but they don't take into account living and other expenses. So for example, if you have two schools that cost $40,000 a year in tuition, but one's in New York City and one's in kind of a more rural location, well, you might have double the cost for living expenses, even triple the cost for New York City as you would to a more rural location. So just take that into account when you're looking at costs. And you want to take a look at the back end as well. So you want to ask schools exactly what their average starting salaries are, what their placement rates are. It may be one thing to get a great package to go to a school, but if you're not going to reap the rewards in the end, it's really not worth it. So be sure to ask those poignant questions to program directors. And you want to take a look at how committed your school is to success. A lot of schools use their placement rates and their alumni and where they've gone as a marketing tool, and that can be a good thing for you because they're committed to your success and making sure that you're one of those success stories for them. So take a look at alumni, talk to current students, and see what the schools are doing to provide you with a great future. Obviously, as an international student, you're going to face some challenges, and that's okay, and that's to be expected. One of the big things that we get here at Clarkson is visa issues. So a lot of students think that just by applying to a program, we're going to go ahead and issue you an I-20, which is the document you need for a visa, and you'll have no issues. That's not necessarily the case. Most schools, what they do for visas is they wait until you've been accepted to the program, committed, and by committed, they usually ask for a deposit. And after that fact, they'll go ahead and issue you your I-20. You'll go ahead and take that to the embassy. The embassy will conduct an interview with you, and only after that interview will they decide if you've been granted a visa or not. Please note that the schools have really little say over if you're granted a visa or not. That's really up to the embassy and their consulate there. And education's a great place. Education USA is a great place that you can go for a lot more information on visas, visa interviews. They're affiliated with the Department of State, and they're a great source. So please keep them in mind when you have visa questions. Schools can help you to an extent, but Education USA is really a great place to go. Language is definitely a challenge for international students at times, and just plan that when you're going to be going through your course material and going through your classes, that it might take you some extra time to do so. So if a program is advertised as a one-year program, it may be a challenge because it's going to move at a really quick pace. And you may want to ask if the program can be completed in a year and a half or 2 years. And a lot of programs are flexible and they can do that. If you want to go through the one-year program, just keep in mind that you're going to have to really commit a lot of time to the program and to getting through it. Obviously, adjusting to a new environment, cultures, and norms, even food, can be something that can be a challenge. But just go out, put yourself out there, enjoy your experience in the United States. But also, you can keep ties with your home country. I always suggest for international students that when they're coming and they're packing their bags, that they put a couple of their favorite foods that they love in their suitcase so that, when they do get homesick or if they have a moment where they just really are missing home, that they can pull out that snack and have a little taste of home. And believe it or not, it makes a big difference. Career placement. Careers aren't always guaranteed in the United States for international students. You need to find a company that's going to sponsor you. So you need to stand out in a crowd, and you need to make yourself invaluable for a company that's looking to hire you. Skills that you have can only lead in that. Obviously, language can definitely be one for that. All right, the application process is something that's challenging for international students. A lot of times in different countries, there's one set application process for getting into any school, and that's not the case in the United States. The application process does differ from school to school. Most schools are now doing online applications, so you would just log on to their website and go ahead and fill out an application. That's what we do here at Clarkson. And once you do submit an application, we send you a list of requirements that you need to submit to us in order for your application to be complete. Do you know that there are fees associated with applying to business schools in the United States? They can range the gamut. So they can be free, like for example, Clarkson this month, in the month of November, we're not charging application fees, but some schools charge, anywhere from $25 up to, I've seen actually application fees of up to $500. So just keep that in mind as you're applying to schools, because that can certainly be a cost that can add up in the long run. Most schools are looking for either GMAT or GREs. GMAT is the most common standardized test for for business schools, and typically the most is also becoming more and more acceptable to business schools. And for example, a school like Clarkson will take either or for students who have taken both exams, we will actually take the higher of the two exams. So, be in touch with the programs that you're looking at and ask their policies about standardized testing. Okay, moving on. How you would go ahead to transition to the United States. I would say if you're looking or thinking at all about applying to a school in the United States, start now, even if it's just a possibility. You want to definitely work on improving English skills and your vocabulary. I always suggest that students kind of read at least internet sources a day, and I usually say that one should definitely be from a reputable newspaper like the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times. And I also say that one should be from kind of more of a pop culture source. So, whatever it may be, if you want to go and read the USA Today, which has a lot more slang into it, that's a good thing. Americans do tend to have a lot of slang words, and they're not always present in academic journals, but your friends will be using them. So you want to make sure that you kind of understand some of those when you come to the United States. So read a reputable, more academic source, and read one that's more pop culture. You can also listen and watch programming online. So NPR.org is our national public radio, and that's kind of a good academic source, but there's also other ones if you just want to, watch a popular TV series here in the United States, you can do that too, and that's always a good thing. When you're here, get outside your circle that are from your home country or even your home region, and make friends, that are from the United States, from Europe, from Asia, and we can get you in touch with fellow incoming students. So, for example, at Clarkson, we actually have a Facebook page for our incoming class. So both this past class of 2012 and 2013 have their own Facebook page, and it's a nice way that students can link up together and go ahead and meet other students that are going to be in their same program. Come early. That's the one thing that I find most students kind of wait a little bit too late to come, and they don't leave themselves time to take jet lag into account. So you want to make sure that you're ready for the first day of classes and that you're not, still going through that jet lag phase. During orientation period, most MBA programs do have an orientation. Make sure that you take that time to to learn about all the campus services that are available. So for example, whether it be gym facilities or career centers or just where to go for computer labs, those types of things. Take advantage of that time to kind of acclimate yourself to the campus. While you're here in the United States, make sure that you get full use out of your time. So definitely make sure that you socialize with your classmates. Many of your classmates will be future CEOs, vice presidents, have really great jobs, and they're great people to know. And they'll go back and be like, oh yeah, we were classmates, and you never know when that connection can come in handy. You'll want to also, the MBA program stuff, we, for example, get in our office, constantly job offers from past alumni, and we're constantly kind of going through our heads and going, oh, who would this be a good fit for? And obviously, students that we see on a regular basis are going to be the ones that come to the forefront of our minds. So you want to make sure that you're up here and kind of making yourself known with the program directors and the faculty. You also want to make sure that you're going to the Career Services Office. For example, at Clarkson, we have specific sessions just for international students. So, for example, before our career fairs, we kind of have a coaching session for you. So we'll let you know how to go out there and make the best use of your time at our career fairs and how to approach the subject of being an international student and finding a position in the United States or abroad. So like I said, there's a ton of services on college campuses in the United States that are available for graduate students. The center, they will deal with visa issues and I-20 issues and OPT and CPT, and I'll go over what that is in just a minute. Advisors are kind of deal with your academic career, and they can kind of help you figure out course loads and the best courses to take. And career centers obviously are the ones that are there to ensure your future success. The job market for international students here for our U.S. is to start early. In fact, I encourage you to do all your conversations with people about your future plans, what you're going to do. If you have a certain company in mind that you'd like to work for in your home country, go ahead and make an appointment with them and ask what they're looking for in their employees, and then tailor your experience abroad around that. Make sure that you're honest about your strengths and your weaknesses. You may have, obviously you know an extra language. That's definitely a strength. So be aware of your weaknesses too, and while you're here, work on your weaknesses and get the help to improve your weaknesses. Definitely be patient. You're going to hear no a lot. There's definitely jobs out there that may be your dream job, but just aren't a valuable or a viable option. So for example, you're not going to be able to work for government contractors or the defense industry because they do require U.S. citizenship. So just keep that in mind. Stay positive about your job search, and do realize that there are companies that do hire international students, and there are also great companies that are looking to hire abroad as well. So keep that in mind. Now, I did mention that I was going to talk about OPT and CPT. OPT is basically allows students that are on an F1 student visa to work full-time for 1 year after they've completed their degree. So you do have some time to go ahead, get a job here in the United States, and prove your value to a company. Now, there's also CPT. That actually has to be part of your curriculum. So typically it's used for internships and things like that, and for a shorter duration of time. And if you do have questions about that, I'm more than happy to answer those at the end of this presentation as well. Now, H-1B is another visa classification that is used after you're a student and a company hires you on full-time here in the United States. Like I said, make sure that you start making contact before you leave, stay in touch with your home country during your time here in the United States. You'll want to see if there are alumni that are in similar situations as you are, and kind of get in touch with them and use their experience to your advantage. And make sure that the school that you're going to be attending has connections with companies, not only that you're interested in here in the United States, but also have connections with your country back home as well. So like I said, just to kind of sum things up, make sure that you build a list of what you're looking for and stick to that list. Be clear about your criteria. Apply to schools as early as possible. That will give you enough time to deal with any issues that might arise. Make sure that you leave yourself plenty of time to get your visa. We'd rather see you have a visa much earlier than to have, be stuck with a visa appointment that's after our start date, and we have to then extend your entrance into the university. So just kind of as a last, capstone to all of this, it is possible to be here in the United States and get a great education. Sarah Rahimian is one of our current MBA students who's actually from Iran, has a prior master's degree, and decided that she just didn't have the skill set that she needed to be successful back home, and came to Clarkson to build on that skill set. She's here loving every moment of it, and has plans to actually go back to Iran and open up her own business, probably after getting some consulting experience here in the United States. She's just a true joy to have in our program. And I did want to let you know that Sarah is actually going to be available to speak with students today at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, so just in about 2.5 hours or so, if you'd like to jot that down. Okay, so it looks like we have a couple of questions. One of them is actually about GMAT and GMAT scores. So typically universities are looking for a GMAT score anywhere from, I would say, 450 and above. Obviously, as you increase with the selectivity of the school, the GMAT score is going to go like Clarkson. Our average GMAT score is approximately 550. And what I would definitely encourage you to do is to go ahead and get in touch with the programs that you're interested in and ask them specifically about their scores and what they're looking for. They will be very honest with you, and if you tell them, this is my score, what do you think my chances are, they'll let you know. So for example, somebody calls us, we'll let them know exactly 550 is what we're looking for a GMAT score. All right. Looks like we have a question from Kevin. Thanks for the information. Well, you're very welcome, Kevin. And he's a student that's looking for an MA, MBA. For students who don't have, looking for suggestions for students who don't have GRE or GMAT to get admission. And he's looking if there is actually programs where they do exchanges and for master's degrees. Yes, there are definitely schools who do exchanges, and one of the things that you might want to look at is if you're interested in a certain program here in the United States, but just for whatever reason you want to go and do it with a school in Europe first, go ahead. A lot of us list our partner universities overseas, and you can go ahead and then narrow down your search for a university overseas based on that. So the best way is to kind of, Kevin, is to work backwards and to go ahead and see where you want to go and then see if they have any programs about that. All right, Sina, looks like there's a question about scholarships. So we do have, we offer a variety of scholarships here at Clarkson, and that is the case at most universities as well. A lot of universities do it on on a percentage basis. Some do it based off of need. So again, that's one of those situations where you're going to want to go and get in touch with the school and ask them. They'll be very honest with you about scholarships and what your chances are of scholarships. Most of the time, the scholarships are solely dependent on your overall GPA and your testing score. So those two things make up the amount of scholarship that you're going to receive. And the other thing that you might want to consider is teaching assistantships, CAs. We call them graduate assistantships here at Clarkson, and those are an opportunity for you to work with a faculty member and actually earn some money. So they might have you, grading papers or helping out on research, conducting review sessions for some of those students, and you would actually get paid for that. So that's always an option too about scholarships and other sources of aid. I think I answered this question. This is the next question. What criteria are most important for MBA students to be successful in getting awards? Like I said, definitely your testing scores, your grade point average, and then there's also kind of those extra things that play into a factor as well. So if you have work experience, that can aid you. If you have gotten awards for kind of things outside the classroom, that can help. So there's lots of different things that go into making up your scholarship award. Okay. All right, so Kevin's actually looking for some names of schools that don't require the GMAT or GRE in California or Hawaii. Unfortunately, Kevin, I don't have a list of those. I think, like I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, I would be very weary about a school that does not require that component of their application. A lot of times they're not requiring it because they just don't have the accreditation. So you definitely will want to make sure that you investigate programs that are not requiring a GMAT or GRE. But if you are dead set on not taking the exam, I would just go ahead and take a look and Google, no GRE, no GMAT. Okay. All right, so that looks like all the questions that we have for now. I will stick around for a few more minutes to answer any questions that you might have. Other than that, I would again just like to thank Education USA for hosting this session. And we can always be reached by email, and I will type my email address in here for you to see as well. And this is my personal email, so go ahead and email me with any questions that you might have. Thanks again.